Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys 1/6 scale Star Wars The Bad Batch figure unboxing and review. Today we're taking a look at Wrecker. Now I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you are comfortable before buying. I have popped the link to their site in the description below along with the discount code Justin's Collection for 5% off your order if you do decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new Hot Toys Star Wars figure review goes live on the channel. As for the box art, it's what we've come to expect from Hot Toys Star Wars figures at this point. We have an up-close image of the figure himself, front and center, wearing his bucket, a metallic foil Star Wars logo, and the Bad Batch style wraparound banner with this almost salmon/orange and red color scheme. And just one more product shot of Wrecker off to one side. It's always awkward when we get a team and one of the members just doesn't gel with you, and he's grating and he's annoying. That's what Wrecker is for me. I'm still excited to get the figure because he looks like an absolute unit, but the character I personally don't love. On the side of the box, we have another shot of Wrecker, once again wearing his bucket, on that wraparound banner. It is done in high gloss, by the way, so it does contrast against the more satin finish for the rest of the box. Then around the back, warnings, legal information, and Hot Toys store locations. On the inside of the box, this is where Hot Toys tuck away the real artwork. We've got a couple more pictures of Wrecker, some blast effects, some burning embers, and Clone Force 99 up top. Even though Wrecker in the show just isn't my vibe, I can already tell that this figure absolutely is. He is a unit. This is one hefty boy. What we are going to do now, though, is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Starting off with the display base first, which is done in the typical Star Wars style, aka it matches the rest of the Bad Batch's bases. Up top, we have this removable top cover piece that is adhesive backed if you do want to stick it down permanently, but you by no means have to. You can just use the crotch grabber to keep it in place. Now that does mean it will move around a bit, but you are now keeping your options open. If you do want to switch it up and remove this every now and then, you have the ability to do so. We have Wrecker's helmet off to one side, the Bad Batch, and Star Wars. This is nice and textured and grippy. For the front, Star Wars and Wrecker on the etched nameplate, and up top, a slightly larger than usual adjustable crotch grabber. If you do decide you want to remove this top cover piece, then you're left with that classic Imperial style flooring look base. There is a little bit of dry brushing on the edges like you can see right there, and it's done in more of a warmer tone than usual. Next up, we have Wrecker's unhelmeted head sculpt. We won't be going in depth right now about it, we'll save that for when we actually pop it on the body. Just know that it's insanely detailed. He does come with his backpack, which is magnetic. There's this foam pad on the back, which we'll discuss. There's weathering on the edges, some pops of color, and all the insignias are in the places they're supposed to be. Unfortunately, it doesn't open. I love when you can open up backpacks on figures because then you can store their accessories inside them. This time it's just hollow plastic without any way of opening it. Okay, Hot Toys are being really sneaky with these Republic Commando style blasters. Right off the bat, the sculpt is sharp, the silver is nice and shiny, and there's weathering in the crevices on top of that silver. But the best part about it is it's modular. So that means that going forward, if they do decide to use this mold for something, then they can make Republic Commandos and have these bits and pieces switch out to form the different variations of the Republic Commando style blasters. They're keeping their options open, and I for one am curious to see what they're cooking up. Now that's a knife. This thing is huge. The handle is quite geometric, there's this dot of red on the bottom of it, and for the blade, there is a ton of surface detail. It's shiny, but not weathered. It's quite clean and almost cartoony looking. But that fits the aesthetic for me. After all, the Bad Batch is an animated show. And lastly, a full array of hands. They're all detailed the exact same way. We've got the armor plates on the back with the red accents for the knuckles. Then the glove portions have some wrinkling sculpted in. They're done in more of a satin finish. We also get some relaxed open palm hands, and for some weird reason only one trigger finger hand. I'm pretty sure that all clones were trained to be ambidextrous, so that means they can use weapons in both hands. But yeah, Hot Toys only gave us a trigger finger hand for the right side. And then 2 closed fists already installed on him out of the box. What we are going to do now, though, is get Rekka himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses, or accessories, or anything like that. It's always so much easier to make a standard clone rather than something bespoke like Rekka here. Because all you have to do is get the molds right once for the body, for the armor, and the accessories. Yes, the first few clones can be a little bit hit and miss while they're figuring out the tolerances and the articulation, but once you have it dialed in, it's smooth sailing. All you have to do is throw in some new accessories and switch up the paint applications every now and then. Whereas for Rekka, you can't do any of that. You're essentially starting from scratch with a brand new body, brand new armor, and mostly new accessories, including of course the head sculpt. I'm pleased to report, even though this could have gone wrong starting all over again, Hot Toys are expert cloners at this point. They know what they're doing, and Rekka, he looks spot on to me. Up close and personal, kicking things off with Rekka's bucket. I don't think anybody's going to argue with me when I say this, but this is a sick looking clone trooper helmet design. It is so unique and so specific to Rekka. The very thin slits for eyes, then this downturned looking mouth on top of this lower chin portion with the grill, and then the spiky white pieces that make it look like some skull teeth or something. All of it comes together to make for something that is going to stand out on your shelf. I'm almost picking up on a Battlefront Dark Trooper vibe. Am I the only one who's getting that? Let me know down in the comments below. The Arabesh 99 on his forehead is a nice touch, the way it looks like it's dripping down. The white is scuffed and nasty looking, and they've gone with multiple different shades of grey for the main body of the helmet. We've got the lighter bluish grey, then the subtle blue tint on the gunmetal sections. Now you do have to watch out for paint rub because the collar is quite high, and this is that solid sculpted plastic. So when you do bring the helmet down, as you can see, it collides with the collar. So maybe dial in the pose and the angle first, and then bring it down if you want him to be looking at some kind of clanker or something on the ground. The undersuit is just full fabric, and it extends up underneath the helmet, so it looks nice and seamless. It looks pretty seamless with the head sculpt on as well, but the flight suit does continue up under his chin. Even though he has a fully textured and painted skin tone neck that perfectly matches the head sculpt. I would have preferred if you could have pulled the suit down a bit more to expose the skin tone neck, because they've gone to all of that effort of painting it to match the sculpt. You want to be able to show it off. Speaking of the sculpt, is it just me, or does that kinda look like a bald Arnie? I'm picking up on some strong Arnold Schwarzenegger vibes, and maybe that's what they were going for. I definitely do not see Tamura Morrison, at least me personally. The skin texture is sculpted and painted. You can even make out some veins on his forehead. And it's an asymmetrical sculpt. We've got this scarring on one side and the gnarled up ear, plus the glossy whited out eye. Now, in the show, he does pretty often wear his helmet sitting quite goofily on his head like this. In 6 scale, you can do that, but the helmet isn't padded around the rim, and there are some quite sharp edges sticking out. So if you are wedging this on top of his bald head, be super careful. The last thing you want to do is push this all the way down and destroy the paint applications and all of that gorgeous texturing on his chrome dome. So not something I'm going to try and accomplish. If you do want to, it's an option. Around the back, he does have his backpack on, and I like the subtle grey dry brushing on the edges that give it that chalky aesthetic, like the Bad Batch in the Clone Wars has. So they have tried to nail that look while also going for realism at the same time. We do have the skull and 99 smack bang in the middle of this circle, and another 99 down below in between these brightly coloured, I would assume, buttons or LED indicators. You also have some pops of blue on these canisters. The backpack is removable, it attaches with a magnet, and you have some detail on this panel underneath it. There is a foam pad on the backpack, so even if you do bump it or move it around, fingers crossed the armor should be protected. Back around the front, dude is jacked. He's got huge biceps. He's got this massive bulky torso, and the armor helps with all of that. It makes him look even bigger. But the body isn't just relying on padding. It in and of itself is quite substantial. Over the top of the body, we have this ribbed fabric undersuit that will allow you to get away with crazy posing. As long as you're not bumping the armor plates into one another, I think you can leave him in a dynamic pose pretty much forever. Speaking of the armor plating, there's scratching, there's some dry brushing on the high spots, you've got washes in the crevices, and you've got the various little decals like the skull and the 99 printed on both shoulder pads. This color scheme, I can't believe they ditched in Season 2, and I assume going forward they will no longer look like this. The dark, almost black, then gunmetal, then the lighter grey, and then the red with that chalky aesthetic on the edges. I can't get enough of how cool this looks, even though I don't even like Rekka in the show. Even the gauntlets are interesting to look at. You've got these spikes around the back, you also have a lot of red, the lighter grey, and the darker gunmetal. Then we get to the hands. There's this quite big flat armor plate, with the red sections meant to look like knuckle armor. I'm willing to call these brass knuckles. Dude would do some damage if he was to smash someone with these armor plates. Coming down to his legs, they are virtually tree trunks. You can see how girthy they are. They do slim down towards this part where it sticks out for the calf muscle, then even more so towards the ankles. It flares out again for the armor plating so that you do have room to move the boot underneath on a split cut boot design. The red striping is a nice touch. There is some sculpted tread on the underside, washes all over the place, and that lighter grey dry brushing. The fabric bodysuit is one piece. I don't think that's going to affect posability at all. Besides the battle damage, everything is pretty symmetrical on Rekka, except for this sheath on his calf. On a normal person's calf, this would be pretty small. For Rekka, as you can see, it isn't. You can remove the blade from the inside, and it's padded in there. So even if you do take this out multiple times and wedge it back in, I don't think you're going to cause any damage to the silver paint on the blade. For a quick side-by-side comparison, this is Clone Force 99 as it stands at the time of filming this video. We're still waiting on tech, so it seems he's going to be the last to be released. We have Crosshair, Hunter, Rekka, and Echo. Echo is the only figure with that brighter, more saturated red, and I think that's because he was the latest recruit to Clone Force 99, so his armor wasn't as weathered as everyone else's. The other three clones, the color palettes match perfectly. And the size difference between all four of these guys, especially Rekka being as big as he is, it makes them look like unique standalone characters. Some people say that having a bunch of clones in the collection can be boring because they are clones, they're supposed to be identical by default, but not the Bad Batch. They have their differences. I dig how that translates to 1/6 scale. Going over articulation, this guy does have the makings of a figure that can pose. He's got the fabric undersuit, so you can leave him in a dynamic pose. But will his armor be too restrictive for him to do those poses? Let's find out. Starting off with the bucket, it's on a double ball peg, looking forward to there as the front does tuck into the chest armor. Looking up to there, swivel, and pivot side to side. The shoulder pads are on Velcro. If you find they pop off on you, that's okay, just dial in the pose, then pop them right back on. The arms will go up to there on clicky ratchets, going forward and back, also ratchets, butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep underneath the armor plating, double bend at the elbow going to about 90 because the gauntlet does collide with the bicep armor. Then for the wrist peg, it's a hinge and swivel. The torso is multi-segmented, this is a separate piece to the abdomen armor. Still, it's more restricted. Crunching forward to there, be mindful of paint rub as well. Going back to there, swivel, and pivot side to side. His legs are also on ratchets. They will go forward to there. If you want a little bit more range, you can rotate the thigh armor, then you might be able to get one or two more clicks. Going out to there, as well as swivel at the upper thigh. Double bend at the knee, you guessed it, ratchets once more, but because there's this strap on the knee pad, these armor plates, and a little bit of that squishy padding underneath the undersuit, you only really get to 90. And then for the ankles, a split cut boot design and a double ball peg. Good for forward and back, swivel, as well as ankle tilt. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing is, while I do prefer magnets over little hooks or clips, this foam pad should be way more grippy. It should have like an element of friction to it. So when you plug the backpack on, it sits in place more securely, because it just slides around everywhere. If you are trying to pose him and you bump this, I guarantee you, it's going to be falling off. The second annoying thing is there is no detail on the inside of Wrecker's helmet. Just the little neck connector. We've seen them do so much better than this, like with Boba Fett for example. Usually they're fully sculpted with a ton of detail and all of that stuff is painted. The third annoying thing is it is way too challenging to access the skin tone neck. He has multiple layers on, and when you want to expose it, you have to pull those layers down and they are sitting really tight around it. It's fully sculpted and painted, so it's meant to be on display, so I really don't understand why this is so difficult to expose. The first cool thing is, this is one of my favorite head sculpts from the Bad Batch line. The amount of detail here with the scarring and the gnarled up ear and the skin texture and the 5 o'clock shadow, plus the really subtle Arnie likeness, it just works for me. The second cool thing is a twofer. Number one, you can install his blade into the holster. It's not like there's a fake hilt or anything that you have to just plug into the top of it. And it's padded on the inside. So when you do slot it in there, I don't think there is any risk of paint rub. The third cool thing is I am 99% sure, see what I did there? Clone Force 99. I'm so sorry. That this is a brand new body specific to Wrecker. It's one of the tallest I have ever seen from them and one of the chonkiest. Wrapping up on my least favorite character from the Bad Batch, Wrecker. I just don't connect with him in the show. His personality, the way he acts in really serious moments, how goofy he is, and I know you need comic relief to balance out the tone. I just think that the writing doesn't do him any justice. But some people really do like him. So I'm pleased to report that if you are one of those people, the figure himself is incredible. He's gone from being one of my least anticipated Star Wars clone figures to now one of my all-time favorites. He is so big, he is so chonky, the armor is so well done, that I cannot wait to put him in the display alongside the rest of the Bad Batch. The color scheme, the proportions, and that head sculpt, those are all highlights to me. Even though there are a couple of things that I did complain about in the pros and cons segment, it's mostly pros. So at the end of this, if you're collecting the Bad Batch and you are hoping that this guy is going to be another home run like the other clones already released for Clone Force 99, you're going to be extremely satisfied, just like I am. Now, I got mine at a discount from Pop Collectibles. As always, do your own research, make sure you are comfortable before buying. I have popped the link to their site in the description below, along with the discount code Justin's Collection, for 5% off your order if you do decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.